Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 651 for the 6th of December. And let's start off with the Southern Front. Over at the Kherson Front, we have the Ukrainian forces continuing to send reinforcement into Krinky, and they continue to try to push out towards the south from the village. We have geolocation of the Russian forces continue to do heavy bombardments on the Ukrainian forces, and tentatively there is no solution, or there's no ready breakthrough for both sides. And yeah, so that's the situation over in Krinky. And we move on over into the Zaporizhzhia Front. This is Zaporizhzhia city. This is the Zaporizhzhia Front. At the Zaporizhzhia Front, we have a Ukrainian MiG-29 getting shot down over Komishuvakha on the northern part of the front line near Shabaki. This distance is around 20 kilometers, shot down by air defense as usual. There is bombardment at Lukyanivsky, or Lukyanivsky. This one is weird because as usual the Russian Defense Ministry mentioned about their units, aviation and artillery, inflicting them losses on the Ukrainian side. However, this is nowhere near to the front line, so I have to put it as bombardment rather than fighting. And that's all from the Kherson sector. At the Orikhiv sector, this is Orikhiv. The Russian forces continue their assault, their offensive operation towards the Robotine as well as in the area of Verbove. The Ukrainian Zaporizhzhia offensive is basically as good as entirely over by now. As you can see, there is totally no reports on the Ukrainians doing offensive operations. It looks like the Russians have completely taken over in terms of the actions in this area here. We shall wait and see what is the Ukrainian solution. In the previous report on the 4th of December, the Ukrainians did try to attack Nesteryanka, but as I mentioned before, the front line here is really hard. The Ukrainians did try it before and long time ago. It did not work, and clearly they did not try again. It's just a one-day adventure. At the Huyai sector, this is Huyai. At the Huyai sector, there is some geolocation of Ukrainian entrenchment getting hit by the heavy flamethrower system, with the Russians launch these thermobaric missiles at Ukrainian positions along this tree line. This continue to show that our mapping is accurate. It's just quite sad that the soldiers probably died because it's almost instant death for the thermobaric missiles to hit your position. Over at the Velika Novosibirsk sector, this is the front line. There is fighting reported near Makarivka. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say, you see, Makarivka. And so there might be a possibility that the Russian front line have actually extended further, which is currently unreported by any of this open source intelligence. And if this is true, then we probably see this attack towards Makarivka making a lot of sense. So tentatively, we haven't changed the front line yet because we have no information about that. We previously already know that the Russians are heading down this tree line, and they are attacking in this area here. So for them to conquer the rest of this tree line up to this road sector is possible. And then it also makes sense for them to head northward and capture this entire area here. And if they have this area along the road, they capture this road, then of course any attack in this direction will be in the area of Makarivka. So this is what, this is how I ascertain that this is a possibility. Over at the Donetsk Front, this is the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, there is still fighting reported at Novodonetsk. This is according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. They mentioned that they repelled an attack from the Russians around in the area of Novodonetsk. And there's nothing over at the Voleda region. We move into the Novomikhailivka region. There is geolocation of Ukrainian forces getting hit by shelling by the Russians. Russians are also attacking in the area of Novomikhailivka. Over at this Marinka region, the fighting continues. Over at Marinka, we have no much information. There is also fighting reported towards Krasnohorivka. Today's mouse skill, my mousing is very lousy. I'm not mousing this correctly. And previously there was reports yesterday As you can see, I missed it so badly. There's fighting reported in the area of Boyeda, and we have geolocation to show that it was a tank operating around this area here. So that could be an indication that the Ukrainian mapping is actually more accurate, that the front line is actually around here rather than the Russians actually at Boyeda. So this is actually quite important. So the front line is probably this. We shall continue to wait if I can see any mapping from the Russian side to corroborate this information. So that's all from the Donetsk Front. We move into the Avdiivka Front. So this is Avdiivka city, and this is the Avdiivka Front. At the Avdiivka Front, the Russian forces continue their Avdiivka offensive with fighting reported on the... Let me adjust my mouse. This is so irritating. I can't draw the arrows properly. So yeah, in case you don't know, I'm not using a tablet, it's a mouse. So the Russians are attacking in the eastern part of Bakhmutivka. At Stepove, there's fighting reported in the area of Avdiivka, probably in the south, Zhevene, Tonenke, as well as Pervomaisky. Pretty much the usual things. There is no clear changes in terms of the front line in the mapping. And so the only thing to really talk about is mainly there is your location of Ukrainian forces still within Pervomaisky, getting hit by grenade dropping FPV drones. And then I think the rest of front line, there's nothing really particularly interesting to talk about. We move into the New York Front. This is New York. We still continue to have reports from the Russian Defense Ministry about some kind of assault coming from Donetsk. So that's kind of... this is, let me see, 5th. this don't make sense. It's not 5th to 2nd, it's 2nd to 5th. So this is actually outdated. Let me put into this, put a question mark. In fact, it should be this. Ignore the Torres. It's actually fighting reported in the area of Privnishny. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that they repelled an attack coming from Privnishny, probably in the direction of Mayorsk, where the Russians have a control over here. There is geolocation of artillery hitting Ukrainian infantry in this area here. So this is kind of weird. Maybe they don't see Druzhba as its own town. Maybe they see Privnishny and Druzhba as one town, and the attack in this direction, they report it in this way. So they don't want to talk about, they don't want to use the word Mayorsk, so it doesn't look so scary. So that could be a possibility, I think. If not, it's a bit hard to explain why this is the case, that they quote the name, Kirovo or Privnishny. We move into the Bakhmut Front. So this is the Bakhmut city, this is the Bakhmut Front. At the Bakhmut Front, the Russians continue their assault in the southern part of the Bakhmut Front, with fighting reported at Klishchevka and Andriivka. There's no reports on Kudyumivka. The Russians still are fighting in this area here. So in the north, most likely, we previously have reports of that. Geolocation in the Dacha area of Bakhmut is a bit weird. We have geolocation of Ukrainian forces attacked by FPV drones within the Dacha area. This negated previous information coming from Ryber, saying that the Dacha area has been captured. So that's why the Ukrainian mapping is still accurate in this sense. So you can see the Ukrainian mapping is very important. It's a good counterbalance to what the Russians are saying. So we move on. Further up in the northern flank of the Bakhmut Front, the Russian forces continue their assault in the area of Bodanivka, fighting in the north as well as in the area around this nursery region. So I'm not going to crack another the plant baby plant joke because it's getting a bit old. But the baby plants are here. The Russians apparently still have not captured it yet. So there is certain mapping showing Russians probably captured it. I'm not sure. I think I saw Surya mapped that the Russians have went all the way in this direction. So because the modus operandi for my mapping is that I no longer take Surya mapping into account in my mapping, but I still read his reports. So I cannot. I just want to let you know that in terms of Surya maps, he mapped it in this way, that the Russians have made some progress in this area, kept going into this forest region here. However, there is geolocation of Russian artillery hitting Ukrainian forces along this tree line. This is geolocated by military summary. So it does put into question if the Russians actually make this push in this area here. So I will have to put this into a question mark. But if this is true, if Syria map is correct, this is a significant flanking operation in the north of Bogdanivka. So I have to take a pinch of salt regarding this. There is further geolocation by Kreminna Caprice of artillery strike of Ukrainian forces in the south of Bogdanivka. So this is the situation over at the Bogdanivka region. We move on. There in the Siversk Front, this is Siversk city. This is the Siversk Front. The Russian forces continue their assault over in the Rosalivka region and the Vasily region. This is now acknowledged by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. They now mentioned this. I think previously it was also mentioned by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Yeah. So it was reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. The Siversk offensive probably is currently on. Syria maps map that the Russians have captured this entire railway line in this area here, northeast of Vasily. But I have no geolocation to corroborate it. As I mentioned, currently I'm using geolocations to update mapping more than just using Syria maps mapping. I do adjust mapping based on RIBAS and DPA UA's mapping, but not Syria maps. So let's see how this goes. The Ukrainian forces counter-attack over in the Bilohorivka region, as per reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. Previously, it was the Russians that was attacking, so this is a counter-attack. We shall see how this goes. We move into the Kreminna Front. This is Kreminna city, and the Kreminna Front, there is fighting reported near Krychorivka. The Russians say that the Ukrainians launched an attack, which they repelled in the area of Krychorivka. And there is no reports of fighting within the Siversk forestry itself. The fighting, however, was reported at Terny, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, which means the Russians' attack in the area of Terny is really serious. They are still pushing forward to capture all these entire forest regions and in these valley regions. And that's it from the Kreminna Front. Over at the Zaporizhzhia Front, there is no report of any fighting around this front line. We move into the Kupyansk Front. At the Kupyansk Front, the Russian forces is supposedly still pushing over at Sinkivka region. However, the Ukrainians launched counterattack in the area of south of Liman Pershi, west of Sinkivka, at Sinkivka itself, as well as Ivanivka. Information coming from the Russian Defense Ministry. The Ukrainians are also building a new line of defense. Let me change to yellow. Around the Petropavlivka region, is reported by RIBA. They say that the Ukrainian forces are currently, fortifying and entrenching a so-called a second line of defense, because they feel like Sinkivka is likely to fall very soon. I find this interesting, because the Ukrainians has been in this area for a long time. I feel like they should have already did all this entrenchment. They are probably just making it more secure, just to prepare it. I'm quite sure they have already prepared this. Reinforcement is also reported in the area of the forest south of Masyukivka. So the Ukrainian forces continue to send reinforcement into this area here, because the Russians are pushing in this area. So no, it makes sense. This is reported by RIBA. They say that the reinforcement is by mobilized troops, 3rd Battalion of the 43rd Mechanized Brigade. So let's see if there's armored vehicles, because it's mechanized. And and that's it. A very quick sit rep today. There is another two Sukhoi 25 getting shot down by air defense over Dubropilia. So as you can see in this Russian report, the air defense shot down 2 Sukhoi 25 and 1 MiG-29 near Dubropole, which is Dubropilia, as well as Komishuvaha or Komishuvaha. So I attributed the MiG-29 to Komishuvaha and the 2 Sukhoi 25. Usually they work in pairs, so that do make sense. that they shot down over Dubropilia. But no, Sukhoi 25 usually is air support. They should be firing any of their missiles or rockets much nearer. So getting shot down so far away is pretty concerning. It's around 60 to 70 kilometers away from the front line. So yeah, so that is it. You can of course don't believe the Russian Defense Ministry report. Yeah, it's fair to not believe them. Because it is a one-sided information. They just simply say it, and then you have to take it with a pinch of salt. So this is the summary for the day of 651 for the 6th of December. And do subscribe. Yep, and I'll see you in the next update.